Today's episode finally offers an answer to the question of why Gabrielle has never ever been given her own horse. The answer? She beats them up. Or at least tries to. This episode starts with Gabrielle trash-talking Argo and, threatening her with her little stick. Oh, honey. No. Gabrielle is luckily interrupted by Xena before she can actually, beat up the horse. And then both of them are interrupted by a very orange-looking girl. It is the worst fake tan I have ever seen. In what will later be revealed as part of the plot, but for the moment just kind of is weird and awkward and not funny, in the middle of a plea asking Xena for help, the girl burps. It's just weird. The idea is that Salmonius is back, only this time he's being called Lord Seltzer. I don't know why I just gave him a British accent. He doesn't have a British accent. But he's come to this village, and now everyone is happy and prosperous and selling seltzer water, but one of his old bad deals was made to some warlord dude. There are so many warlord dudes. So the warlord dude, Talmadeus, has sent his troops to attack the village, and Xena fights them off, but suddenly, in the middle of the battle, we see a very close-up shot of someone kind of far away with a blow dart thing, and we are then treated to Darto vision, where the camera follows very dramatically this dart as it flies into Xena's neck. But for the moment, the village is safe, and that's the important part. So once the bad guys are beaten, this is when Xena actually learns about the whole Lord Seltzer thing. What we eventually learn is that Xena's dart has been poisoned with what is probably the most magical and wonderful poison of all, the poison which only does what the writers want it to do when the writers want it to do it. Got that? Good. Because Xena is fine. She's fine the entire first day. She's got the poison doing somersaults through her bloodstream, and she's fine until the very next day when she's in the middle of a fight with some of the warlord dudes, cronies, henchmen, his dudes. Now, in a typical move for Gabrielle is watching Xena fight the warlord dudes from the bushes and just kind of, cheering her on like Gabrielle is wont to do. But suddenly, oh no! The poison kicks in. Finally. So Xena, in the middle of the fight, suddenly goes all fainty McFainterson, and it's up to Gabrielle to save the day, which she does. Gabrielle, with the help of Argo, effects a very cunning rescue. Anyway, when they get back to the village, Xena finally explains about the poison dart of great significance when the writers want it to be. And Gabrielle is all, ooh, why didn't you tell me, Xena? And Xena's all like, ooh, I don't know what her excuse was, honestly. It wasn't a very good one. But they realize that if they want to keep the warlord dude away from the village, someone's gonna have to be Xena. We're treated to a bunch of very close-up shots of a woman putting on Xena's battle armor, and it's all very da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Or, it's kind of like that. Because, surprise, Gabrielle is going to pretend to be Xena, with a very bad dye job. My favorite part of her disguise is that she's not allowed to use the real chakram because she can't use it. It's difficult to use. That makes perfect sense, I understand. But instead of just not giving her a chakram, they give her a fake one that pretty much looks like a trivet. It doesn't even have a hole in the middle of it. Who is going to be fooled? No one. Okay, I lied. That's totally not my favorite part. My favorite part is when Gabrielle tries to do Xena's little, ovulation yell thingy, and she's all like, ay, 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 ay. It's at this point that Xena tries to convince Gabrielle that Argo does not actually hate her. She does this by trying to ask if Gabrielle ever had a pony. And Gabrielle responds with an, oh yeah, I had this pony named Timpani and I really, really loved him, and then he died. Because everything I love dies. Because it's like Gabrielle is saying, please, allow me to compare you to my beloved dead pony, Xena. That'll make everyone feel better. No. So Xena and Gabrielle try to have another touching conversation. Because Gabrielle, was concerned about her friend, and she doesn't really know anything about this poison, and she eventually kind of asks her, are you going to die? But Xena's just like, it's not about me. It's about the greater good, Gabrielle. Ugh! No wonder these two never hug. They don't know how to communicate. The question, are you going to die, is a separate issue from, let's think about the villagers and how we can help them. Two separate ideas, but ooh. long breaths. Anyway, Xena realizes that the best way to fight off the warlord dude is for him to actually see Xena fighting him. So this means that Gabrielle actually has to go and fight him so that he can see Xena. And of course, this does not go well. Gabrielle falls off of Argo into a trough of water, which dunks her under and makes all of her black hair dye. Bleh. So now we flash back to a sweaty, hallucinating Xena who's stuck in a barn back in the village. And she's crawling around on the floor, being all sweaty and hallucinating, when two sneaky bad guys come sneaking into the barn. Luckily, a very useful chicken that runs across Xena's foot, and that's how she knows that they're a bad guy. And thus, alerted to the presence of the bad guys, fights them off using another bottle of seltzer water. So she's fighting with the seltzer water, and she's got it on like a little twirly string thing, and she's beating them up, and she's beating them up, and she does a little bit of the pokey. And she actually manages to use the pokey to, like, control the actions of one of the bad guys, and she makes him, like, kick the other dude in his very doodly parts. So Xena is once again triumphant, although, you know, sweaty and collapsing. At this point, we flash back to the warlord dude's camp where Gabrielle is about to get killed by the warlord dude. When Argo runs into the dude's camp and is, like, fighting off the bad guys, although it's more like kicky, less fisticuffs. Anyway, he's fighting and he comes and he gets Gabrielle and I just... Okay, this is the point where I actually have to admit that I was really genuinely emotionally affected by an episode of Xena Warrior Princess. Because Harmonious, like, finds Xena and she's dead, and then Gabrielle comes and, like, it is shockingly, emotionally effective, and I'm just like, I know that Xena's not dead, because, hello, we haven't even finished the first season of Xena Warrior Princess, but, like, Xena, what happened to my sense of ironic detachment? So after everybody takes a moment, myself included, the show goes on. Gabrielle tells Harmonious they're going to stay and help the villagers, and then she's going to take Xena's body back to be buried at her brother's. And Harmonious decides that better than that plan is a plan where he surrenders himself to the evil warlord dude in exchange for the safety of all of the villagers. But it is at this moment that we see a finger wiggle of hope, because dead Xena twitches a finger. So now the warlord dude comes to the village to, like, enact his final justice. And Gabrielle steps up to the BAMF plate. But then she gets tricked by the warlord dude, who is, like, really hardcore in a way that is, again, unexpected. He's gonna, like, draw and quarter her and rip her to pieces. Okay, actually, he's just gonna, like, draw and half her because he's only got 2 horses to do the actual ripping apart, and, you know, I know that much math. That's 2 pieces. So they tie Xena up to Argo and this other horse, and this is the point where I know I'm still watching my same campy show. Because the horses have a moment of, like, mystical horse communication and decide among them that no, they will not destroy the body of Xena. But luckily, Zombie Xena rises from the dead, like at full strength, incidentally, to save the day. And all is happily ever after, except that no one yet knows who sent the mysterious dot that started us down this strange journey. I don't think I'm ever going to do that accent again. In some ways, particularly as it pertains to horses, this is a fairly standard episode of Xena Warrior Princess. But actually, I feel fairly safe in saying that this is the episode where Xena Warrior Princess turns it up to 11. Because not only was there genuine emotional on my part during this episode, the credits of this episode had the best disclaimer the writers had come up with yet. Excessive belching can cause brain damage and social ostracism. Kids, don't give in to peer pressure. Play it safe.